I'm Zizi.
And I'm Natalie.
Welcome to Zizi and Natalie Bake. I'm honing my skills as a baker, and Natalie is learning to bake. So today we're starting with a basic pound cake. If you can do all the skills that are involved in making a pound cake, you can make just about any cake there is. So we're starting with the very basic things. First of all, we're going to make sure we have all of our ingredients ready to go, which we don't have yet. We've got everything out here, but we don't have everything measured yet. So first of all, we're going to measure out our dry ingredients. This is the stuff you're going to be mixing into the butter and sugar, so we're going to start with them. So Natty, we need 3 cups of flour. And remember, you don't want to pack it in. You want to fluff it in. Okay, that's right. Scrape it off. Way to go. All right, give her a shake. A lot of recipes and things say that flours now all come to you sifted and you don't have to sift them. And that's true, you don't have to. But just like anything, if you just take a little bit more time to just take a little bit more effort, it's not hard to sift flour. And it does make for a better cake. Alright? We have some stuff left in there. Smash it through with your fingers. Okay, so that's one. Looks like there's got something in it. We don't want to do that. Take it out. So next time we'll just dump it when we get down to the bottom, okay? Okay? Head out again.
Do the same thing?
Mm-hmm. Till you get 3. You're going to have to talk loud so the camera can hear you. Till you get 3 cups of flour. Okay. So the sifting process does take a little time, but not too long. Yeah, we'll just stuck it this time. Okay, 1 more cup. Now remember, you don't want it packed, you want it loose. Cake baking is a precise thing. Lots of things you cook, you can be close, but when you're baking a cake, it really pays off to get your measurements exactly right. Okay. Was that 3?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then you need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So this is your salt. Now remember, the teaspoons are the small ones. The great big one is a tablespoon. So you need 1/2 teaspoon. And you want that one level as well.
Like that?
Then you need 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Okay, and then you can stir all that up. By the way, baking powder, it does get old and doesn't work very well, especially in our hot and humid South. So always write the date that you bought your baking powder on the top of it, and at 6 months, it probably needs to be tossed if you haven't used it all in some nougat. Flour everywhere. Okay. All right. That's our dry ingredients all mixed up. All right. The next thing we need to do to get started is to cream the butter with the 1/2 cup, 2 sticks of butter with 1/2 cup of shortening. Now, shortening is hard to measure, and so I'm going to show you how to do it here this first time, because it is not the easiest thing to measure, because it gets air pockets in it if you put in a big glob. So put in a little at a time, like so, and you can see there's a little air pocket. So you have to push it down. Now you can fill a cup half up with cold water and then put it in there up to the 1/2 cup mark, and that's another way of measuring 1/2 cup, but that's kind of messy. Well, this shortening generally is just kind of messy. So I'm packing it down in here. Just pack it as hard as you can, and make sure that you've got it packed so that there's no room in there for a hole, okay, for an air pocket. Can you lift that beater, the head of the mixer up there? Okay, in we go. Now, I know that shortening is something that is not popular these days, but I figure a little bit every now and then is not going to hurt us, and that's all we use it for. Okay, she's putting the beater in. That's good. You have to turn it till you get it to go in. There you go, and then it'll turn and click. I think you got it. Let's see. Nope. Let's see. Right here, see? You line that up with that. And then click it. All right, you want to lock her down?
Okay.
We'll start on about 1 or 2. That's low. So we're adding to our 1/2 cup of shortening. We're adding 2 sticks of butter. 2 sticks of butter is 8 ounces, a cup, or 1/2 a pound. Okay, when you get them both in there, you can turn it up to about medium, which is 4, 5, or 6. So the butter just has to cream. It takes just a few minutes. Not really minutes, just a little while. Alright, to that we are going to add, in just a minute, 3 cups of sugar. So while that's creaming, we'll be getting out our 3 cups of sugar. Let's go ahead and measure out 3 cups of sugar then. You can use the same cup. Maddie's using what is called a dry measure cup. It doesn't have a spout on it, and it's not glass. And you don't have to be just super concerned about it, but it doesn't hurt to kind of be careful. Let's add a little more and then scrape it off.
Yeah, it's not one way.
show people what it looks like. Know how well you can see that, but it's all creamed together. It's lighter in color and just all together looks smoother and better off. So now we're going to slowly add the sugar.
Then you turn it on
Yep.
to 1.
Maybe 2.
So right here.
1, 2, and 3 are low, so that's good. Different stages of low. Now while this is going on inside there, what's happening is that butter is coating each little grain of sugar, which is going to make it release its sweetness when it gets in a nice hot oven. And I just turned the oven on. I should have had it on already, but since I had been using it earlier, it wasn't very cool. Okay, Maddie is slowly pouring it in. She has had little experience before, so she's not a total starter. When you get it all in, Maddie, you need to turn it up to in that medium to medium high range. So medium is 4, 5, 6. So you might even want to go up to 6. We'll see. Start at 4 and then go to 5, then go to 6. Will probably be the best way.
So you go to 4.
Yep. And whip. There you go. Now we're going to let this go for a minute, and then what are you going to do?
Screw the sides.
That's right. Scrape the sides down. I wish I had one of those beaters that hits the sides, but I don't. So we have to scrape the sides. I'm going to get me one of those silicone with a silicone edge on it. Now you'll begin to see a difference in the appearance of this as it beats. It hits. They say till it's light and fluffy, or what directions always say. Well, you know, light and fluffy to one person, somebody else is not light and fluffy. But you can tell when it's starting to get there. What do you think? I think it is too. Okay, if you lift the beater up, we'll show everybody what it looks like.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Ooh, scrape some of that off. It definitely has gotten lighter, and you shouldn't be able to see any lumps of butter in it when you get finished to this point. It never hurts to let it go longer. You might want it to go just a little bit longer, because when you're baking by scratch, you're not going to be worried so much about time. You want to bake well in a timely fashion, but time is not the major thing. Well is the major thing. Okay? Give it, I'll show it to everybody. Okay, you can probably see it's looking a lot better, but I think it needs to go some more because it's not all that fluffy looking to me. Let's try it all the way up to 7.
Right there?
It's starting to really look more light and fluffy. Now, we're going to do our eggs, and we'll just use this little cup right here. Now, you'll see my eggs here are all different colors and not exactly all the same size either. That's because I raise chickens. So these eggs come from my chicks, and they come in all different colors, and the ones that lay the white eggs are molting right now, so they're not laying. They're just eating food and growing feathers right now. But when you do an egg, you crack it on the table or flat surface, so that if you crack it on the edge of something, that can push shells up into it. You don't want shells in it. And open it up into your little container. We're putting it in this half-cup measure. One at a time, because if you get any shells in it, you want to be able to pick them out here. If you put them into here and a shell goes in it by mistake, you got problems. They're really hard to get out and to find.
Really slow it down.
So slow it down and put that one in.
It's really fluffy now.
Yep. Now the eggs make a big difference in it. They change the texture and they change the color. And these eggs really change color because my chickens are free-range chickens, so that means they eat a lot of chlorophyll. And the chlorophyll makes the yolks really, really, really bright yellow. So they look really different. And doing them one at a time is good too, because you don't need to hurry this process. So this keeps you from being too fast. Now, these eggs are very small, and generally recipes, the others weren't. These two are, but I think we'll be okay. Generally recipes want you to use large eggs.
I don't know, larger than American butter.
Yeah, I think I'll swap this last one if you want to swap it out. Yeah, that's better. These chickens lay big eggs. These are red chickens. They're not Rhode Island Reds. I don't know what their names are, but they're red chickens, and they lay these dark brown eggs, and they're a nice size.
It's really fluffy.
Now, when that's incorporated, you're going to scrape it down, and you do it on about 7 for just a little bit after you scraped it down. You want all our eggs really incorporated well. Ooh, it's looking bright yellow.
You think that's about good?
Yep.
I was locked. Did it again.
I do it every time. Mostly I don't even remember to lock it. But with it up here on the edge of the island, we might want to make sure it's locked. Now all these eggshells, I crack them, smash them up into little pieces and put them in my compost pile. So that, or I save them to go under tomato plants because they have a lot of calcium in them. Okay.
That's about good. I got some.
Alrighty, then whirl it around for about close to a minute on 7 or 8. We'll show it to everybody too in just a minute. It's looking pretty. It's getting paler too. It's not as yellow as it was.
Really fluffy.
It does look nice and fluffy. This is a pound cake, and pound cakes don't have much baking powder in them, and so they depend on the whipping to put the bubbles in it to make it rise. And so they need to be whipped pretty good. Okay, you can stop and we'll show it to everybody. Lift her up. I don't think think any of that stuff will fall off the beater. So here it is so far. It's looking really pretty. All right, now we're going to do the next step, which is something that is a lot of people don't do well because they just don't take the time to do it well. But when you're adding the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients, the wet ingredients in this case is going to be a cup of milk. Now, I used to be a science teacher for years and years and years. And there's one thing I learned is you do not measure stuff looking at it from the top because of something called parallax, which makes it appear as it is not actually. So when you're measuring liquids for anything, hold it up to eye level and make sure, this may take you back to science class, that the bottom of the meniscus, which is water and milk both curve when they're in a cylinder, is at the 1 cup mark, not the top of the meniscus. And I was at the top there. It's not much difference, but hey, let's be precise. Okay, so what's the order, Maddie?
Dry, wet, dry. Wet, dry.
There you go. It's dry, wet. Let's see, dry, wet, dry. You always start and finish with
Dry.
Dry. Okay, here we go. So you'll do about a cup and a half a cup, a cup, a half a cup, last cup.
And I use this.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep it on low.
Mm-hmm. Wait until, stop it and put it in.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't stop the mixer and add your dry ingredient, your fluffy flour, you will have flour all over you, all over the kitchen, all in your hair, all everywhere. So you always stop the beaters when you're, and that probably wasn't a whole cup, I noticed. So
Yeah,
get you a little more. Yeah. Because it's hard to get a whole cup at a time. Okay. And then you start it on?
Low.
Yes. Unless you like wearing flour as a decoration, you start it on low.
Until it's like all kind of mixed in?
Mm-hmm. You go until it's all kind of mixed in so you're not seeing any flour anymore.
Do I ever turn it up?
Yep, you can turn it up some once it's not going to fluff out all over you. Now milk will splash out over you too. Not the same disaster that you get with flour, but it can do it. So I always turn the beaters off when I'm adding milk or whatever the liquid is. Yep, I think you're ready. Half.
Oh, half of it? I don't know where the whole thing is.
I noticed.
It's a lot. I'm just kidding. Okay, we're good.
We're good. Okay, kind of let that get incorporated and zip it up to 5 or 6 after it gets incorporated. So you don't see milk sloshing around anymore. Okay, I think you're ready for your next dry. She got it all mixed up well, so time to add dry again.
I tried.
You did good. You can come back and get a little more.
Not that much?
Mm-hmm, that's fine. I told Maddie that putting the flour in either while it was turning or just zipping it up to 4 or 5 is usually a one-time mistake because it takes about 30 minutes to clean the kitchen after that. So you don't want to do that.
I think it looks pretty good.
I do too. So now you're ready for your milk. Now you can do the milk like in thirds where you go dry, wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry.
We're just gonna put this in. All
But
of
I think
it. Yeah.
2 additions seems to work out okay. I think that's a good idea. Okay.
Drip.
Okay, and this is a liquid measure cup. So anytime you want to use liquids, use one of these.
That looks pretty good.
Okay, when you lift it up, I'm just going to get what's in the bowl. Okay.
It's crazy when you like start from down here, and like when you start adding, it gets like really filled up.
That's the reason it takes this great big pan. 3 cups of flour and 3 cups of sugar right there is a lot. Then a cup of milk, you're talking 7 cups. Just starting. Then the eggs, a cup and a half of butter. So it's getting pretty big so far. All right, it sounds like we're almost finished, except if we were to taste it now, it would be pretty bland because we have not put any flavoring in it. And so this recipe that we're using calls for 1 teaspoon of lemon extract, 1 teaspoon of almond extract, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. You see, I buy a lot more vanilla. Okay, so let's pour them. Now we don't want to never take your spoon over to your pan and start pouring in your flavoring, because if you make a mistake and it overflows, you're going to have a cake that's not very good. So we're going to put them all into this little measure. Okay, I hadn't even opened this one yet. Okay, and you fill it up. Okay, there we go. We spilled a bunch, but that's okay.
Do I put it in there?
Put it in here. We'll put them all in at once.
Is that the lemon?
That's the lemon. Okay, here we go. That's almond.
That smells good.
Doesn't it smell good? And here's the vanilla. favorite fragrance of men, by the way, is vanilla.
I love the smell of vanilla.
Just a little, in case you wanted to know. All right. Now, I didn't use clear vanilla. I used just a regular brown vanilla. If you're making a white cake, you need clear vanilla, but we're not making a white cake. Let me show y'all these. I should have used them because I love these. My sisters-in-law and I made a trip to Waco to the silos, and this is my souvenir from the silos. I got a 1/4 cup, a 1/2 cup, a 1 cup, and a 1 1/2 cup. And every time I use them, it makes me happy. I think they're just too cute. Oh, and I'll show you these pretty, cute little measuring spoons. My sister bought these for me, and I love them. They make me think about her every time I use them. Okay, what do you think? Need a scrape down? A scrape down and a final little bloop, and we'll be ready to put her in the oven. Now, I think this actually cooks at 325, and I've got my oven on 350. So I'm going to fix that.
There's not much to scrape down because it's halfway filled up.
No. Scrape it down and let it go for just a few turns, and then we're ready to put it in this pan, which is not ready for it. This is a tube pan. If you've never used one, this kind comes apart, and this one is old and has a bad spot in it, and sometimes it leaks. So we're hoping this isn't one of the days that it leaks. Now, most recipes say butter and flour, and if you want to do that, have at it. But I learned a long time ago that they make this stuff, Baker's Joy, and it gives me a more even coating, and it's way easier. So our pan is ready. All right.
Turn it off?
Yeah. Unlock it. Okay, now we have to scrape the beaters down this time. Ooh, it looks so pretty and smooth. Looks great. You want to take a little taste?
I'll take a little taste.
All right. We're going to do... so good. All right. Let's make sure we got the butter in. We got the shortening in. We got the sugar in. We got the eggs, the flour. We put the salt and the baking powder in the dry ingredients, right? We have the cup of milk, the 1 teaspoon vanilla, lemon, and almond flavoring, so we should be good to go. Okay. I always do that because there's been times when I've poured it in the cake pan and then realized I didn't have everything I needed in there. Okay. Let's make this a 2-man job. Or a 2-girl job. Okay.
It smells good.
Doesn't it smell yummy? Now, the good thing about pancakes or pound cakes is that you can dress them up. You can put chocolate sauce on them, or lemon curd, or strawberries, or just, there's so many ways. But one of the best things to do with them is to take them in the mornings and put a little butter on them and put them in the oven or your toaster if you've got a flat toaster like I do. And toast it, and oh, it's so good. All right, Maddie, I'm going to let you do all the big scraping. It's kind of hard to get to it from this side. This is really good. Okay, let's see if I can get anything off of here. One of the saddest days of my life was when I was a little girl, when I was a child. My mom didn't bake cakes. She baked cobblers and biscuits and stuff like that. She did not bake cakes. But I had an aunt who lived out in the country, and she was the cake baker for the community. And she baked wedding cakes and so forth, all kinds of cakes. Well, I used to love to be in the kitchen with her when she was baking. And she always let me lick the pan. Well, she did not have a spatula at that time, but she got one like this. And that was a sad day for me because that spatula would get that pan so clean that when she said, "Do you want to lick the pan and the beaters?" there wasn't much. The beaters were better than that, than the pan. But it was a sad day for little Zizi when that happened. Okay. Okay, now what? What do you do with it? You always do this.
Shake it?
Just give it a shake. Make sure it's seated and in the pan. All right. It's going down here in the oven. In it goes. Okay, it bakes at 325 degrees for, I believe it is 80 minutes. So let's set the timer. 80 minutes is a long time. But pound cakes take a long time to cook. So while it's cooking, we are going to clean up our mess. We'll be back as soon as the cake's done. Okay, our cake is out of the oven. We did have a little trouble flipping it back and forth to get it on the cake stand, but it still turned out just beautiful and smells fabulous. So now we're going to cut it. And while we were waiting for it to bake, because pound cakes take a really long time to bake, we made a chocolate ganache to go with it. We were going to make a chocolate sauce, but it required corn syrup, and I thought I had corn syrup and I didn't. So as Brenda Gant says, use what you've got. And so what we had was some chocolate and some heavy cream, so we made a ganache instead. And we can tell you the ganache is good because we've been tasting it to see how it is. So there's one for you. And here's one for me. Now, ideally, pound cakes, you're supposed to let them cool for till they get cool and then wrap them up in tin foil and leave them for a day and let the flavors get better. But I've never done that in my life because who can wait? Not me. Okay, you ready? This is our ganache we made. It tastes really good because we have tried it. There may have been a finger or two licked during the making of this video. Okay, the crumb on this is beautiful. It's consistent throughout. And let's just say the kitchen smells really good because it smells so good while it was baking. Okay, I think I'll take a little bitty bite. Let me give you a little bite, Maddie, with nothing on it. So we can kind of say what we think about the cake.
fluffy.
It is. Beautiful too.
I feel good.
It is certainly good enough to eat by itself. It's really good. The chocolate makes everything better. Kind of like butter. I have a theory that butter and bacon make anything taste better. So we'll see.
I love chocolate.
What do you think?
I think it's really good.
I think my problem is going to be not eating more of it. Okay, you can need to try this. We'll put the recipe link down below. That recipe came from an old Southern Living cookbook I have. The Best of Southern Living, like 1970 something. But we used the chocolate pound cake recipe, which we're going to be making soon because it's scrumptious. But we didn't put the chocolate in it, the cocoa in it, and used the almond and the lemon and vanilla instead. But this is great. See you later. Bon appetit.